In a galaxy where ancient secrets and futuristic mysteries intertwine, Detective Elias Grant embarks on an extraordinary journey that will reshape humanity's place among the stars. When a haunting chant leads him to a lost starship and a forgotten planet, Elias uncovers a hidden civilization and a powerful gateway with the potential to unlock unimaginable knowledge. As ruthless scavengers close in and the universe's darkest forces stir, Elias must navigate a web of danger, deception, and untold power. With ancient artifacts and a mysterious energy at the center of it all, Elias faces a choice that could either save or doom the future of humanity. Will he protect this newfound legacy, or will the secrets of the stars slip beyond his reach? Join Elias as he dives deeper into the cosmos and uncovers the truth that will change everything. Detective Elias Grant sat aboard his ship, stationed at the edge of known space on Nova Horizon, an outpost far removed from the bustling centers of the Galactic Federation. His work was routine, involving the investigation of unusual occurrences, but this particular moment shattered the monotony. A haunting sound filled his cabin, a melodic chant that shouldn't have existed in the cold silence of space. It wasn't the kind of interference caused by ship malfunctions or cosmic radiation. This sound was deliberate, purposeful, and laced with patterns that suggested it was a message. At first, Elias dismissed it as a potential glitch in his ship's systems, but the precision of the sound compelled him to dig deeper. Each note of the chant resonated as if crafted to provoke curiosity, igniting a sense of urgency he hadn't felt in years. It seemed almost alive, as though the universe itself had whispered directly into his mind, urging him to uncover its origins. The more he listened, the more certain he became that this was not random noise, but a deliberate signal. As he analyzed the patterns, Elias couldn't ignore how they defied conventional explanations. Despite his advanced knowledge of technology and interstellar communication, the chant eluded categorization. It was unlike anything documented within the Galactic Federation's archives, yet it felt strangely familiar. This paradox consumed him, making him wonder if he was on the brink of discovering something ancient and long forgotten, or perhaps something entirely new. Adding to the mystery was the timing of the chant. It coincided with his review of reports about a missing starship, a vessel that had vanished near the Topi Nebula, a region notorious for its electromagnetic interference and treacherous navigation. The missing ship wasn't just any vessel. It carried experimental artifacts rumored to combine human ingenuity with alien design. This connection felt too significant to ignore. The chant, the missing ship, and the nebula, they all seemed intertwined, as though pieces of a puzzle waiting to be solved. Driven by this uncanny alignment, Elias began investigating further. The chant grew in his mind, pulling him into a web of questions that refused to let go. Who or what had sent this message? Why had it reached him, of all people? As he prepared to chart a course toward the nebula, he couldn't help but feel that he was stepping into something far larger than himself. The pull of the unknown became irresistible. The Topi Nebula was a dangerous place, shrouded in dense clouds of ionized gas that made even basic navigation perilous. Yet, it was precisely here that the missing ship had last been seen. Elias couldn't ignore the growing suspicion that the chant was leading him directly to it. There was a purpose to this signal, and he was determined to uncover it. Every fiber of his being told him that this was no mere coincidence. As his ship moved closer to the nebula, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that he was being drawn into an ancient conspiracy, one that spanned both time and space. The chant, now etched into his consciousness, felt like a guide, a beacon calling him toward answers he hadn't yet imagined. Yet, with every passing moment, the weight of the unknown grew heavier, pressing against his resolve. Elias knew the risks ahead were immense, but the promise of unraveling this enigma far outweighed his fears. The chant wasn't just a message, it was an invitation. Somewhere within the swirling mists of the Topi Nebula, secrets awaited discovery. And for Elias Grant, there was no turning back. The Topi Nebula loomed ahead, a swirling mass of electromagnetic chaos that rendered even the most advanced navigation systems unreliable. The nebula was infamous among explorers for its near-zero visibility and unpredictable energy storms. As Elias Grant's ship entered its dense clouds, he felt the tension build within him. Every flicker of his ship's systems and every surge of energy outside hinted at the volatile nature of this uncharted region. The chant had brought him here, and as unsettling as the circumstances were, Elias couldn't ignore the pull of the mystery that awaited him. The closer he approached the last known location of the missing starship, the more unsettling the environment became. Ionized gas clouds danced with an eerie glow, casting shadows that seemed to move of their own accord. His AI assistant, Moana, worked tirelessly to stabilize the ship's systems under the relentless interference. Yet even her advanced algorithms couldn't fully shield them from the nebula's effects. Then, faint energy readings emerged on the scanners, traces of a vessel. Relief flickered in Elias's chest, but it was quickly replaced by suspicion. The silence surrounding the readings felt unnatural, like the calm before a storm. As the source of the readings came into view, Elias found himself staring at a derelict starship drifting lifelessly in the void. Its hull was scarred and battered, as though it had endured unimaginable forces. But what truly captured his attention were the markings etched into the ship's surface. Intricate patterns covered the vessel, designs that bore a striking resemblance to ancient Mari carvings from Earth. These symbols, long considered relics of an isolated culture, had no place on a starship lost in deep space. Elias felt a chill run down his spine as questions swirled in his mind. How could these earthbound symbols have ended up here, light years away from their origin? Elias docked his ship cautiously and stepped aboard the derelict vessel. The air inside was thin and stale, a silent testament to the absence of life. The crew was gone, leaving behind no trace of their fate. The ship's systems were unresponsive, and the logs, potentially a treasure trove of answers, were scrambled beyond recovery. Every corner of the vessel felt like a dead end, compounding the sense of unease that hung in the air. The artifacts, which were the crux of the missing ship's mission, were nowhere to be found. In the cargo hold, however, Elias stumbled upon an anomaly. Amid the dust and debris, a piece of fabric lay preserved, as though untouched by time. It was delicate yet resilient, its surface etched with the same chant that had haunted Elias since the beginning. The sight of it struck a chord deep within him. This was no ordinary relic. It was a clue, a fragment of a story that spanned far beyond his current understanding. The fabric radiated an inexplicable energy, as if it held secrets that transcended the physical world. As Elias examined the artifact, Moana alerted him to movement outside the ship. His heart raced as he turned his attention to the external sensors. A shadow passed through the dense fog of the nebula, far too large to be a drifting asteroid. The movement was deliberate, purposeful, and unmistakably ominous. Despite the instinctual urge to flee, Elias couldn't bring himself to leave. Whatever was out there, it was tied to the mystery he was unraveling, and he needed to know more. The shadow disappeared into the mists, leaving Elias with more questions than answers. Clutching the fabric, he returned to his ship, his mind racing. As he prepared to leave the derelict vessel, the chant returned, louder and more insistent than ever before. It wasn't coming from the artifact. It was emanating from within his own ship. Panic surged through him, but as Moana reported no intruders aboard, the coordinates appeared on his console. Against all logic, Elias set a course for the unknown, his curiosity outweighing his fear. The nebula seemed to tighten its grip around him as he plunged deeper into its secrets. The coordinates provided by the chant led Elias deeper into the Topi Nebula, an area even more treacherous than where he had discovered the derelict starship. His ship groaned under the strain of navigating through dense clouds of charged particles, the electromagnetic interference wreaking havoc on his systems. Visibility was non-existent, and Moana worked tirelessly to maintain course despite the overwhelming odds. Every moment felt like an eternity as Elias pressed forward, his resolve fueled by the mysterious chant that seemed to guide him. Emerging from the nebula's haze, a planet revealed itself, a shimmering orb that pulsed with an ethereal glow. Its surface was adorned with enormous, otherworldly structures that rose majestically from the landscape. From above, Elias could see intricate patterns etched into the planet's terrain, forming massive mosaics that told stories he couldn't yet decipher. These designs bore an uncanny resemblance to the markings on the derelict vessel and the artifact he had recovered, reinforcing his suspicion that everything he had encountered was connected. Elias landed cautiously, stepping out onto a surface unlike anything he had ever seen. The air was rich with oxygen, but it carried a peculiar electric charge that made his skin tingle. The ground beneath his feet was smooth yet firm, etched with the same intricate carvings he had observed from above. Every step he took felt like a journey into an ancient history that had somehow survived the test of time. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation, as though the planet itself awaited his arrival. As he explored, Elias stumbled upon a village nestled between the towering structures. To his astonishment, its inhabitants were human, their presence here a paradox he struggled to comprehend. The villagers gathered cautiously, their faces a mix of curiosity and wariness. Their leader, Ariki Tahu, emerged from the crowd, a figure of quiet authority who carried himself with dignity and purpose. Ariki's gaze lingered on Elias, as though sizing up the stranger who had ventured into their hidden world. The villagers' existence here was both extraordinary and puzzling. Ariki explained that they were the descendants of an Earth colonization mission that had crash-landed centuries ago. Stranded on this enigmatic planet, they had merged their culture with the remnants of alien technology they discovered, creating a society that was both traditional and advanced. Their survival had been a delicate balance of preserving their heritage while adapting to their unique environment. Elias couldn't help but admire the ingenuity and resilience that had allowed them to thrive in isolation. Yet, Ariki's account was not without its troubles. He revealed that scavengers had recently raided their sacred temple, stealing artifacts that were crucial to their identity and survival. These artifacts were no ordinary relics. They were keys to an ancient gateway hidden beneath the planet's surface. The villagers believed the gateway was a bridge to their ancestors and a means of safeguarding their future, but without the artifacts, it could not be activated. Elias realized with growing urgency that the missing vessel's stolen cargo was at the heart of this crisis. Elias offered to help recover the stolen artifacts, moved by a sense of responsibility to aid these people and their remarkable story. Ariki's gratitude was tempered by a grave warning. The scavengers were ruthless, armed with advanced technology that far outpaced the modest defenses of the villagers. As Elias prepared to embark on this new mission, he couldn't shake the feeling that the mystery of the chant, the artifacts, and the gateway was far greater than anyone could yet understand. This was not merely about recovery. It was about uncovering a truth that could reshape the galaxy. Elias ventured into the northern canyons, following Ariki's guidance and the faint trail of energy signatures left behind by the scavengers. The terrain was as unforgiving as it was ominous. Sharp cliffs loomed over narrow paths, and violent energy storms crackled across the sky, threatening to engulf him at any moment. Every step forward required both skill and determination, but Elias pressed on, driven by his mission to recover the sacred artifacts. The further he traveled, the more tangible the presence of the scavengers became, evident in the discarded equipment and remnants of their machinery scattered across the rugged landscape. As he approached the scavenger base, Elias's heart sank at the sight of their stronghold. The area was heavily fortified, protected by automated turrets and energy shields that pulsed with a faint glow, making a direct assault impossible. The scavengers had entrenched themselves deep within the canyon, their defenses a clear indication of the value they placed on the artifacts. But Elias was undeterred. He carefully studied the defensive patterns and noticed a periodic gap in the shields, a fleeting vulnerability that could be exploited. It was a small window of opportunity, but it was enough. Elias utilized his ship's stealth capabilities to navigate through the gap undetected, slipping past the imposing barriers that surrounded the scavenger base. Inside, the atmosphere was tense, filled with the hum of machinery and the low murmur of scavengers discussing their recent haul. Moving with calculated precision, Elias infiltrated the heart of the base, where the artifacts were housed in a heavily guarded chamber. The sight of the artifacts struck him with awe and unease. They radiated an energy that felt almost alive, their intricate designs pulsing faintly in synchrony with one another. Before Elias could secure the artifacts, an alarm blared throughout the base. The scavengers had discovered his presence, and chaos erupted in an instant. Elias's instincts took over as he navigated the maze-like corridors, evading capture while engaging in skirmishes with the pursuing forces. The artifacts were heavy and unwieldy, but Elias knew he couldn't leave without them. Each moment was a battle of survival as he fought to stay one step ahead of the scavengers, his every move fueled by the knowledge of how much was at stake. With the artifacts in his possession, Elias made a daring escape. He wove through a hail of laser fire, dodging relentless attacks and narrowly avoiding traps laid to ensnare him. His training and quick thinking were put to the ultimate test as he navigated the treacherous terrain back to his ship. The energy storms that had once seemed like an obstacle now provided cover, concealing his movements from the scavenger's sensors. Finally, with a surge of relief, he launched his ship into the safety of the nebula, leaving the chaos of the canyon behind. As Elias set a course back to the village, his mind raced with unanswered questions. The artifacts sat in the cargo bay, their faint hum resonating through the ship. Their energy felt different now, almost as if they recognized their rightful purpose. Elias couldn't ignore the strange connection between the artifacts, the chant that had guided him, and the mysteries that seemed to bind everything together. What kind of power did the artifacts hold, and why were the scavengers so desperate to claim them? When the shimmering surface of the villagers' planet came into view, Elias felt a mix of relief and anticipation. He had succeeded in recovering the artifacts, but he knew the journey was far from over. The scavengers' determination and the artifact's mysterious energy hinted at a deeper, more complex truth waiting to be uncovered. As Elias landed, he was greeted by the villagers, their expressions a blend of gratitude and reverence. Yet even in this moment of triumph, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that the stakes were only growing higher. Elias returned to the village with the recovered artifacts, greeted by a crowd of villagers whose expressions reflected a mixture of relief and awe. Ariki Tahu stepped forward, his eyes lingering on the sacred objects as if their mere presence carried a profound weight. The villagers murmured prayers and chants, their reverence for the artifacts evident in every gesture. Elias handed the artifacts over, sensing their significance to these people, not just as cultural treasures, but as a lifeline to their history and identity. Yet, as he looked into Ariki's solemn gaze, Elias realized the retrieval of the artifacts was only the beginning. Ariki led Elias to the sacred temple, a colossal structure carved into the planet's largest mountain. The temple exuded an aura of ancient power, its walls inscribed with intricate patterns that mirrored the designs on the artifacts. As they stepped inside, Elias felt the energy in the air grow denser, a palpable force that seemed to resonate with the carvings. The villagers followed in solemn procession, their movements deliberate and reverent, as if entering a holy sanctuary. Elias could sense their anticipation, the weight of their collective hope resting on what would unfold within these walls. At the center of the temple stood the gateway, an awe-inspiring circular structure adorned with carvings and symbols that seemed to tell a story of cosmic significance. The gateway's presence was commanding, its silent stillness holding the promise of unimaginable power. Ariki explained that the villagers had long believed the gateway to be a bridge, a connection to their ancestors and a safeguard for their future. Yet, despite generations of stewardship, no one had ever activated it. The return of the artifacts was the first opportunity in centuries to unlock its mysteries. The artifacts were placed into their respective slots with great care, each fitting perfectly as though they had been waiting for this moment. As the final artifact clicked into place, the gateway began to hum softly, its surface glowing with an otherworldly light. The carvings illuminated in a cascading sequence, forming patterns that shifted and danced like a living mosaic. The villagers held their breath as the gateway roared to life with a blinding flash, a swirling vortex appearing at its center. The air was filled with an electric charge, and Elias could feel the enormity of what they had just awakened. The vortex revealed glimpses of a celestial expanse that defied comprehension. Stars, galaxies, and fragments of distant worlds shimmering within its depths. Yet, the gateway was not merely a portal, it was a repository of knowledge. Streams of holographic data filled the temple, projecting star maps, historical records, and advanced technologies into the air. The villagers gasped in wonder, their faces illuminated by the glow of the holograms. Elias could see that this was far more than a connection to the past. It was a treasure trove of knowledge that could reshape their understanding of the galaxy. As the villagers marveled at the revelations, the gateway's hum took on a different tone. The chant returned, not from the villagers, but from the gateway itself, filling the temple with an ancient melody that carried a warning. The knowledge it offered was not a gift to be taken lightly. It was a test, a challenge to those who sought to wield its power. The chant seemed to ask whether they were ready, whether they possessed the wisdom and humility to use the knowledge for the greater good rather than for greed or domination. Ariki turned to Elias, his face heavy with unspoken questions. The villagers had waited generations for this moment, but now they stood at a crossroads. The knowledge within the gateway could change their lives and perhaps the fate of the galaxy, but it also came with immense responsibility. Elias realized the decision of how to proceed was not his alone, but the weight of the choice pressed heavily on him. Together, he and Ariki began to deliberate, aware that the path they chose would echo far beyond the confines of this village, shaping the future of all who would come after them. After a brief moment of reflection, Elias and Ariki came to a unanimous decision regarding the fate of the knowledge within the gateway. They understood the power it held, not just for their village, but for the entire galaxy. However, with such power came the potential for devastating misuse. The villagers, though wise and deeply connected to their heritage, had lived in isolation for centuries, and now, with the gateway open, the choice of how to manage this newfound knowledge weighed heavily on them. Elias knew that whatever they decided, it would impact more than just their people. It would affect the future of countless others across the stars. The gateway's potential was staggering, but Elias could sense a deeper truth beneath the surface. This was not just about gaining knowledge for the sake of discovery. The artifacts had linked them to something far more ancient, something that predated humanity itself. The chant, the gateway, and the energy of the artifacts all spoke to a grander design, one that could not be tampered with lightly. The villagers had always lived by the principle of respect for tradition and harmony with nature, values that had kept them safe and connected to the land for generations. But now, they stood on the edge of something far larger, something that might change everything. Elias and Ariki discussed the implications of the gateway's power, knowing that it wasn't just the villagers who had a stake in the decision. The knowledge within the gateway could benefit all of humanity, providing insights into technologies and civilizations long lost. But it could also be weaponized, leading to unimaginable destruction. They were aware that the universe was filled with factions who would stop at nothing to control such a resource. The scavengers, with their desperation to steal the artifacts, were just a glimpse into the darker sides of greed and power that could exploit the gateway's vast repository. Ariki, understanding the responsibility now entrusted to him, turned to the villagers for counsel. It was clear that they were the stewards of this knowledge, and it was their duty to protect it. But they also had a moral obligation to ensure that the knowledge would not fall into the wrong hands. They had lived for centuries by values of cooperation and peace, and now those values would be tested on a universal scale. Together, the village elders discussed how to safeguard the gateway's secrets, knowing that they could not allow anyone, even their own people, to misuse it. In the end, it was decided that the knowledge within the gateway would not be freely accessible. It would be protected, shared only with those who demonstrated the necessary wisdom and respect for its power. Access to the gateway would be strictly controlled, granted only to those who prove their commitment to the greater good. The villagers would become the guardians of this cosmic legacy, protecting the gateway and its secrets while ensuring that they would never be used for selfish gain or to dominate others. Elias and Ariki agreed on this course of action, both understanding the gravity of their decision. The gateway would remain, but the villagers would act as its stewards, guarding its knowledge with the utmost care. They would be the ones to determine who was worthy of unlocking its secrets, and they would safeguard the balance between progress and tradition. Elias realized that the villagers' philosophy, rooted in respect for their ancestors and harmony with the world around them, was the perfect foundation for preserving such immense knowledge. In this way, they could ensure that the gateway would never be a tool for destruction, but rather a source of enlightenment for those who truly deserved it. As the villagers gathered in solemn agreement, Elias felt a sense of resolve settle within him. The village would protect the gateway, but it was clear that the balance between wisdom and power was fragile. The decision to protect the knowledge was not just a victory for the villagers, it was a commitment to the future. As Elias prepared to leave, the chant echoed softly in his mind once more, no longer a mystery, but a reminder of the responsibility he had witnessed. This was only the beginning of a much larger journey, one that would lead him to further revelations about humanity's place in the cosmos. The villagers' choice had set the course for a new chapter in their history, and in the history of the galaxy. As the decision to protect the gateway's knowledge was finalized, the villagers expressed their gratitude to Elias for his role in retrieving the artifacts and ensuring that their sacred legacy was preserved. Ariki, standing at the forefront, placed a small token in Elias's hand, a piece of the temple's intricate carvings, etched with a fragment of the chant. This gesture symbolized the bond that had formed between them, a shared journey through the mysteries of the cosmos that had forever intertwined their fates. "You are part of our story now," Ariki said, his voice carrying a weight of sincerity, "and we are part of yours." It was a moment of profound connection, a recognition of their shared commitment to protect something far greater than themselves. Elias accepted the token, its significance not lost on him. The artifact, now a physical representation of his journey, felt heavy in his hand. He had come to Nova Horizon as a detective, but what he had discovered here was far beyond the scope of any case he had ever solved. This was not just a mystery to be unraveled, but a responsibility to be carried, a responsibility that stretched across the galaxy and perhaps beyond. As he looked back at the villagers, he saw not just the faces of those who had trusted him with their most sacred secrets, but the faces of a future that could be shaped by the decisions made in this temple. Before Elias departed, the villagers gathered once more to offer their thanks. There was a sense of unity among them now, a sense of shared purpose that hadn't been present when he first arrived. The journey they had undertaken together, through the discovery of the lost artifacts, the activation of the gateway, and the decision to protect its knowledge, had forged a bond that would transcend time and space. The villagers were no longer isolated. They were part of a larger, interconnected universe, one that would be forever changed by the knowledge they had guarded for centuries. As Elias prepared to leave, he felt the weight of this realization sink in. The atmosphere was filled with a sense of quiet determination as Elias boarded his ship. The villagers stood in the distance, their figures silhouetted against the glowing horizon, watching him go. The journey that had started with a mysterious chant in the depths of space had come full circle, and now Elias was about to return to the larger galaxy, carrying with him the lessons of this remote world. The knowledge that had been unlocked within the gateway was not just for the villagers. It was for all of humanity. But Elias knew that it was not enough to simply possess knowledge. It had to be shared responsibly, with wisdom and integrity. As his ship lifted off from the planet's surface, Elias reflected on the events that had brought him here. He thought about the ancient chant, the missing starship, and the journey through the Topi Nebula. Every step had led him to this point, and each moment had brought with it new revelations about the interconnectedness of the universe. The knowledge contained within the gateway was vast and infinite, and yet it was only a small part of the mysteries that lay beyond the stars. There was so much more to discover, and Elias knew that his journey was far from over. In fact, it was only just beginning. As the planet grew smaller in the distance, Elias felt a renewed sense of purpose. He had learned that the galaxy was not just a place of conflict and chaos, but also a place of wonder and unity. The Gateway had revealed that humanity's role in the grand scheme of the universe was not one of dominance, but of cooperation and understanding. It was a humbling realization, one that would guide him in the days to come. His mission was no longer just about solving individual mysteries. It was about ensuring that humanity's legacy was one of peace, harmony, and respect for the greater good of all. Elias set a course for the United Galactic Alliance, knowing that there would be many more challenges ahead. The Gateway's knowledge, the Villager's legacy, and the mysteries of the cosmos were all waiting to be explored. But as he looked at the piece of the temple's carving in his hand, Elias felt that the universe had already given him a glimpse of its true nature. It was a place of infinite possibilities, where the answers to humanity's greatest questions could be found. He was ready for whatever came next. The story was far from over, and Elias was determined to uncover every truth hidden among the stars. As Elias continued his journey through the cosmos, the weight of his experiences stayed with him, a constant reminder of the enormous responsibility he now carried. The knowledge from the Gateway had expanded his understanding of the universe, revealing a hidden truth about humanity's place among the stars. He realized that his mission was no longer about individual mysteries or isolated cases. It was about a much larger purpose, ensuring that the discoveries he had uncovered would not be misused. The lessons he had learned from the villagers, their culture, and the decisions they had made would guide him in his future endeavors. His ship, as it glided through the vast expanse of space, was now more than just a vessel. It was a tool for exploration, a way to uncover the many secrets that still remained hidden. The artifacts from the Gateway, still securely stored in his cargo bay, seemed to hum with an energy that was both alien and familiar. They were a reminder of the ancient civilizations that had once flourished in the galaxy, of the knowledge that had been passed down through the ages. Elias knew that the artifacts were far more than relics. They were keys to unlocking the mysteries of the universe. Yet, despite the peace he had found in his journey, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that there were forces beyond his control, waiting to challenge everything he had worked for. The scavengers, who had shown such desperation to steal the artifacts, were just one example of the darker sides of the galaxy. There were other factions out there, some with far more power and resources, who would stop at nothing to gain control over the Gateway's knowledge. The decision to keep the information protected weighed heavily on his mind. He knew that while the villagers had made the right choice, there were those who would seek to exploit this power for their own gain. Elias understood that the universe, vast and full of wonder, was also fraught with danger. There were countless worlds out there, each with its own history, its own secrets, and its own challenges. Some were peaceful, while others were on the brink of destruction. It was a delicate balance, and Elias knew that his role in this grand scheme was far from over. He had become a protector, not just of the villagers and their sacred knowledge, but of the greater good that connected all of humanity. The decisions he made moving forward would shape the future of countless worlds. One of the most profound realizations he had during his journey was the connection between humanity and the galaxy's ancient civilizations. The chant that had first drawn him to the Topi Nebula had been a reminder that humanity was not alone in the cosmos. There had been other beings, other civilizations that had risen and fallen long before the first humans stepped onto the Earth. These civilizations had left behind their knowledge, their technologies, and their legacies, and now, humanity was poised to join them in this great cosmic tapestry. As Elias ventured deeper into the galaxy, he felt the weight of history on his shoulders. The more he learned, the more he understood that the choices humanity made would determine its future. Would they become a force of unity, as the villagers had hoped, or would they fall victim to the same greed and corruption that had brought about the downfall of so many civilizations before them? Elias knew that it was up to him, and those who stood alongside him, to ensure that humanity would choose the path of wisdom and respect. His journey had only just begun, but already he felt as though he was standing on the precipice of something much larger. The universe was vast, and the possibilities were endless. Yet, with each new discovery, Elias realized that there was so much more to learn, so much more to uncover. The Gateway had revealed a glimpse of what lay beyond the known universe, but it was only a small fragment of the greater cosmic mystery. Elias was determined to continue seeking the truth, to explore the farthest reaches of space, and to uncover the secrets that lay hidden within the stars. But the path ahead was not without its challenges. Elias had already faced numerous dangers, from the scavengers to the hostile environments of the nebula, and he knew that there would be more obstacles in his future. Yet, he also knew that he was not alone. The villagers had shown him the power of unity, of working together toward a common goal. As he traveled further into the unknown, he knew that there would be others who would join him. People who shared his vision of a peaceful, harmonious universe. Together, they would confront the forces of greed and destruction that threatened to undo everything they had worked for. Elias's sense of purpose grew stronger with each passing day. The universe, once an intimidating and mysterious place, was now a canvas waiting to be explored. He was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that the knowledge he carried would help guide him in the right direction. The universe was not just a place of vast emptiness. It was a place filled with life, with stories waiting to be told, and with mysteries waiting to be solved. And Elias was determined to uncover them all. As his ship traveled deeper into the galaxy, Elias reflected on the choices he had made. The journey through the Topi Nebula, the activation of the Gateway, and the decisions made by the villagers had all been pivotal moments in his life. Each had shaped his understanding of the universe and his place within it. But more than anything, it had reminded him of the importance of balance. That power, no matter how great, must always be tempered with responsibility. And as he set his course for the next adventure, Elias knew that the mysteries of the cosmos were still waiting to be unraveled. The story of humanity's journey through the stars had only just begun.